The Tiffany key ring, my 10th anniversary gift to David, gleamed as he tossed it onto the marble counter. 4:17 p.m. Saturday. Our kitchen. My kitchen. Pack your things, Monica. Amber's moving in tonight. Amber, 24, yoga instructor, standing in my doorway wearing Lululemon head to toe, her Louis Vuitton duffel already at her feet. This house is too big for one person anyway. David didn't look at me, just scrolled through his phone, thumb moving with casual certainty. You'll find something smaller. More your speed. I stood there in my grocery store jeans and clearance rack sweater, bags of farmer's market vegetables still in my arms. Tomatoes, basil, garlic. I'd been planning to make his favorite pasta. More my speed, I repeated quietly. Don't be dramatic. He finally looked up, that face I'd loved for 12 years now sharp with irritation. You knew this wasn't working. We want different things. I need someone who matches my lifestyle. Your lifestyle. The tomatoes were warm in my hands, sun heated. In this house. My house. He said it like fact. I make the mortgage payments. My name is on everything that matters. You've always been support staff, Monica. Sweet. Simple. But I've outgrown simple. Amber's laugh tinkled like breaking crystal. David needs a partner who understands ambition. No offense, but her eyes swept over my clothes, my bare face, my calloused hands. You're not exactly keeping up. The truth was, I hadn't been grocery shopping. I'd been at the main office in Manhattan. Emergency board meeting. 3 hours discussing exposure levels on commercial real estate portfolios. But let me take you back. 6 months earlier. That's when I first saw the charges. 6 months earlier, the quarterly audit reports crossed my desk every January. Standard procedure. I reviewed high-risk accounts personally. 23 years at Pinnacle Trust, 15 as Chief Risk Officer, 3 as President and CEO. I knew every red flag. David's construction business appeared on page 47. Brennan Custom Homes. $2.3 million outstanding across 3 loans. Our mortgage, the Tudor Revival in Westchester County, 5 bedrooms, pool, the works. His business line of credit. And a new loan, approved 6 weeks earlier. For a condo in Tribeca. I'd been in Singapore when he applied. Expansion deal, new market entry. 2 weeks of 18-hour days. I'd called him every night. He'd sounded distracted, distant. Now I knew why. The condo paperwork listed 1 occupant, Amber Chin. I sat in my corner office, 42nd floor, view of Central Park, and felt something cold settle in my chest. My assistant, George, knocked softly. Mrs. Brennan? Your 4 o'clock is here. Thank you. Give me 5 minutes. I pulled up David's full financial profile. Everything we held. The mortgage, $1.8 million remaining. The business credit line, maxed at $500,000. The Tribeca loan, $750,000, interest-only payments, balloon due in 3 years. He was leveraged to the ceiling. 1 missed payment from cascade failure. And he had no idea I could see it all. David thought I worked in banking operations. Administrative stuff. I'd never corrected him. When we met, I was a junior analyst. By the time I made VP, he'd stopped asking about my work. When I became division head, he assumed it was secretarial. The day I was named CEO, he'd been in the Bahamas with clients. I'd sent him a text. Got a promotion. Nice raise. He'd replied, Great Han, don't spend it all. LOL. He'd never asked how much. I closed the files. Made a note for my team. Flagged this account for monthly review. Then I went home and made dinner. For 6 months, I watched. The Tribeca condo expenses. Dinners at Per Se, Le Bernardin, 11 Madison Park. Always for 2. Charged to the business card. A jewelry purchase at Cartier, $47,000. Not for me. The yoga studio membership. Amber Chun. Emergency contact David Brennan. I said nothing. Came home to our house. The one I'd approved the mortgage for, though he didn't know that either. Cupped. Meals. Asked about his day. Listened to him complain about stress. About demanding clients. About how hard he worked. You don't understand business pressure, he'd say, pouring scotch. Macallan 25. $800 a bottle. Your little job is stable. Easy. I'm out here risking everything. I'd nod. Wash dishes. Go to bed beside him. And every month, I'd review his accounts. Watch the debt climb. Watch the payments barely cover interest. Then came the board meeting last week. Real estate market softening. Construction loans especially vulnerable. The risk committee wanted to tighten standards, call in some marginal accounts. David's business was on the list. Mrs. Brennan? The committee chair had looked uncomfortable. This is your husband's company. You'll need to recuse yourself from— No. I kept my voice level. I'll handle this one personally. No favoritism. If Brennan Custom Homes doesn't meet our revised standards, we proceed with standard protocols. They'd nodded, relieved. I'd given David 60 days to improve his debt-to-income ratio. Sent the letter through normal channels. He'd never know it came from me. That was 5 days ago. Which brings us to now. To this moment. To David telling me to pack my things. When do you need me out? I asked quietly. Tonight. Amber was already walking toward the stairs. I'm redecorating anyway. Your stuff is so dated. David's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned. That's weird. What? Email from Pinnacle Trust. Something about my loans. He was scrolling, reading. They want to meet Monday morning. Discuss account status. What the hell does that mean? I set down the tomatoes. I'm sure it's routine. Routine. His voice pitched up. Monica, I don't have time for bank bullshit. Do you know how important this week is? I'm closing the Riverside project. That's a $3 million contract. Then you should probably take the meeting. He stared at me. You're not even upset about any of this. Would it change anything? He faltered. No, but you could at least pretend to care. About what? Your lifestyle? Your ambition? I picked up my purse, a Target special, worn at the corners. I hope you get everything you want, David. I walked toward the door. Where are you going? Amber's voice floated down the stairs. You haven't packed. I paused, hand on the doorknob. I'll send movers for my things. Enjoy the house. Monica. David's voice stopped me. Something in it, uncertainty. The bank meeting. It's nothing, right? Just paperwork. I looked back at him. At the man I'd loved. The man who'd slowly convinced himself I was small, simple, beneath him. I'm sure you'll handle it fine. You're so good at business, after all. I closed the door behind me. My phone rang before I reached my car. George. Mrs. Brennan. I have the Brennan account files ready for Monday's meeting. Should I prepare the standard foreclosure documentation? I looked back at the house. At Amber's silhouette in the upstairs window, already measuring for curtains. Yes, I said. Prepare everything. The Pinnacle Trust headquarters occupied 12 floors of the Chrysler Building. Monday morning, 9:47 a.m. I arrived early, took the private elevator to my office, changed from my running shoes into Louboutins I kept in my desk drawer. My work wardrobe stayed at the office. Tom Ford suits, Prada dresses, the clothes I wore to testify before Congress, to meet with the Fed, to negotiate billion-dollar deals. David had never seen them. Mrs. Brennan. George appeared with coffee, black, no sugar. Mr. Brennan arrived 10 minutes ago. He's in conference room A with his accountant. His accountant. I sipped the coffee. Perfect temperature. Interesting. He seems agitated. I imagined so. I pulled up the files on my screen. 3 loans. All technically current, but flagged for covenant violations. The debt-to-income ratio was underwater. The Tribeca condo, listed as a business asset, showed no rental income. Creative accounting at best, fraud at worst. Give me 5 minutes, then show them in. I stood at the window, looking down at Lexington Avenue. 42 floors up, people looked like toys. David was down there somewhere, probably pacing, checking his Rolex, complaining about being kept waiting. He had no idea what was coming. The door opened. George's voice. Mr. Brennan, Mr. Foster, please come in. I didn't turn immediately. Let them enter. Let them see the office, the corner suite, the view, the original Rothko on the wall. What is this? David's voice. Where's the loan officer? I don't have time for. I turned. The color drained from his face. Monica. Hello, David. I moved to my desk, sat. Please have a seat. His accountant, Gerald Foster, 60, expensive suit, looked between us. I'm sorry, is there some confusion? We're here to meet with the bank president about. You are. I folded my hands on the desk. I'm Monica Brennan, president and CEO of Pinnacle Trust. I'll be handling your account review personally. David's mouth opened. Closed. No sound came out. This is impossible. Gerald found his voice first. You're David's wife. You work in. He said you were in operations. Administrative. I started in operations 23 years ago. I'm not there anymore. I opened the file. Now, let's discuss your loans. Monica. David finally spoke. What the hell is this? Some kind of joke. No joke. Pinnacle Trust holds 3 loans in your name, totaling $3.05 million. All are currently under review for covenant compliance. Covenant. We're current on every payment. Current, yes. Compliant, no. I turn my monitor toward them. Your personal debt-to-income ratio exceeds our revised threshold. The Tribeca property, purchased 6 months ago, shows 0 rental income despite being classified as an investment property. And your business financials show declining margins on 3 consecutive quarters. Gerald leaned forward. Mrs. Brennan, these standards weren't in place when they're in place now. We notified you 14 days ago. Standard procedure allows 60 days for remediation. David slammed his hand on the table. This is because I left you. You're abusing your position to what? My voice stayed level. Enforce standard banking practices? Mr. Brennan, I've recused myself from nothing because there's nothing to recuse. You're a borrower. I'm a lender. Our personal relationship is irrelevant to your creditworthiness. Irrelevant. He stood, chair scraping. You're my wife. Am I? Saturday afternoon you told me to pack my things. Told me I was support staff. That you'd outgrown simple. I met his eyes. Did you mean that? Or were you just being cruel? The silence was profound. Gerald cleared his throat. Perhaps we could discuss the remediation requirements. Of course. I pulled out a document. Option 1. Pay down the Tribeca loan by $400,000 within 60 days. That brings your DTI into compliance. $400,000. David's voice cracked. I don't have that kind of cash. Everything's tied up in. Option 2. Sell the Tribeca property. Use proceeds to pay down debt. Amber lives there. I can't just. Option 3. Find alternative financing. Refinance all 3 loans with another institution. Gerald was already shaking his head. In this market? With these ratios? No bank will touch it. Then I suggest option 1 or 2. I close the file. You have 60 days. If you're not in compliance by then, we'll begin foreclosure proceedings. Foreclosure. David's face had gone from pale to red. You take my business? My home. Our home, I said quietly. Where it was. Now it's a mortgage property with an underwater loan. The house is worth $2.1 million in this market. You owe $1.8 million. Even if we foreclosed and sold, you'd walk away with equity. This is insane. He turned to Gerald. There has to be something. Some conflict of interest rule. There isn't. Gerald's voice was flat. She's right. This is standard procedure. And David? She's being generous. Most banks would have called these loans already. David's phone rang. He answered without thinking. What? Now? No. I'm an A. His face changed. What do you mean, overdrawn? He looked at me. The business account. It's frozen. Standard procedure during loan review. I said. It'll be unfrozen once you're compliant. He hung up. Stared at me with something like recognition. How long have you known? About Amber. 6 months. And you said nothing. Would it have mattered? He sank into his chair. You were always so quiet. So, I thought you were weak. I know what you thought. Monica. His voice broke. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. Can we talk about this? Not here. Not as banker and client. But as what, David? Husband and wife. I stood. You kicked me out of our home. Told your mistress to redecorate. Call me support staff. Simple. Not worth your lifestyle. I moved to the door. You don't get to decide when we're married and when we're strangers. You made your choice Saturday. Please. He stood too. I'll fix this. I'll end things with Amber. You'll get your finances in order. That's all I care about now. I opened the door. George will show you out. You'll receive formal documentation within 48 hours. Mrs. Brennan. Gerald stopped at the door. For what it's worth, he's an idiot. I almost smiled. That's not worth much anymore. After they left, I stood at the window again. My phone buzzed. Text from my sister, Karen. Heard through the grapevine David got a wake-up call. You okay? I typed back. Better than okay. I'm done being underestimated. The afternoon was full of meetings. Federal Reserve compliance. Commercial loan portfolio review. A call with our London office about international exposure. At 6 p.m., George knocked. Mrs. Brennan, there's an Amber Chun in the lobby. She's quite insistent about seeing you. I checked my watch. Sent her up. She arrived in athleisure, aloe yoga, Gucci sneakers. Her confidence had dimmed since Saturday. Now she looked nervous. Mrs. Brennan. She stood in my doorway, not entering. I need to talk to you. About David. I don't discuss client accounts with third parties. I'm his partner. His girlfriend. Then you should discuss this with him. He's freaking out. Her voice rose. He says you're destroying him. Taking everything. That you're doing this because what, Ms. Chun? She faltered. Because you're jealous. I laughed. Actually laughed. Jealous of what? A man who's $3 million in debt. A condo he can't afford? A lifestyle built on borrowed money and borrowed time. He loves me. He loves what you represent. Youth. Status. The fantasy of starting over. I stood. But fantasies cost money, Ms. Chun. And David's run out. Her phone buzzed. She looked at it, face paling. He's asking me to move out of the condo. Says he has to sell it. Smart man. For once. Where am I supposed to go? I looked at this girl. This woman. Who'd laughed while calling me simple. Who'd measured my curtains before I'd even left. That's not my problem, I said. You chose a man for his money. Turns out it wasn't his. Now you get to choose again. She left without another word. 30 days later, David requested another meeting. This time, he came alone. I sold the Tribeca condo, he said, sliding paperwork across my desk. Took a $50,000 loss, but it's done. I'm applying the proceeds to the loan like you said. I reviewed the documents. This brings you to $2.6 million outstanding. Still above threshold. I know. He looked thinner, older. I'm selling the Westchester house too. I looked up. That's not required. You just need to improve your DTI ratio. I can't afford it anymore. Not without. He stopped. Monica, I need to ask you something. The business account. When it was frozen, I saw the transaction history. Every month, there were deposits. Anonymous, through some trust entity. $5,000, sometimes $8,000. Going back years. I said nothing. That was you, wasn't it? Keeping my business afloat. The trust made investments in promising local businesses. Yours qualified at the time. At the time, he smiled bitterly. Not anymore? Not anymore. He was quiet for a long moment. I looked you up. After our meeting. Really looked. Senate testimony on banking reform. Ford's profile. That Wall Street Journal article calling you the most powerful woman in regional finance. He met my eyes. How did I not know? How did I live with you for 12 years and not know? You never asked. I never asked, he repeated. Monica, God, I don't even know how to apologize for this. For what I said, what I did. Then don't. I threw away everything. The woman I loved. My marriage. My life. His voice cracked. For what? A girl who left the second the money dried up? A fantasy I couldn't afford? You threw away what you didn't value. That's not tragedy, David. That's consequence. He pulled out an envelope. The house listing agreement. I'm accepting an offer this week. After I pay off the mortgage and the business line, I'll have about $200,000 left. I'm using it to start over. Smaller. Honest. I took the envelope. That's probably wise. I signed divorce papers too. No contest. You can have whatever you want. I know I don't deserve anything. I don't want anything from you, David. I never did. I just wanted you to see me. I see you now. Tears tracked down his face. I see everything I lost. 12 years too late. He stood to leave, paused at the door. Can I ask what you'll do? After what? After we're divorced. After all this is done. Will you? Is there someone else? I thought about my life. The work I loved. The foundation I was building for women in finance. My sister's kids, who called me Aunt Monday through Monday. The apartment in the village I'd bought under my maiden name. The one David had never known about. There's me. I said. That's enough. He nodded. Left. I never saw him again outside of legal proceedings. 6 months after that, I stood in the same conference room where I told David about his loans. Different meeting now. Different purpose. The Brennan Women's Initiative launches next quarter, I told the board. Full scholarships for women pursuing finance degrees. Mentorship programs. Entry-level positions reserved for program graduates. After your ex-husband? One board member looked confused. Why that name? Not after him. After me. My maiden name was Brennan. I took it back. I pulled up the presentation. This program exists because I spent 12 years being invisible in my own marriage. I won't let another woman disappear like that. The vote was unanimous. The divorce finalized on a Tuesday. I was in my office when George brought the papers. It's official, Mrs. Brennan. Or should I say Ms. Brennan? Ms. Works. I signed the final page. Did the house sell? Closed yesterday. David moved into a 2-bedroom in Yonkers. Started a small renovation business, focusing on kitchen remodels. Good for him. And Miss Chun is engaged. To a hedge fund manager. I smiled. Of course she is. That evening, I went home to my village apartment. 3 bedrooms, original hardwood, a kitchen I'd renovated myself. Books everywhere. Art from my travels. A space. That was entirely mine. My phone rang. Karen. Big sister. Divorce celebration dinner? My treat. Your treat? I'm the bank president. Exactly. So you can afford expensive wine while I pretend I'm paying. I laughed. Deal. Pick the place. We went to a small Italian restaurant in the West Village. No white tablecloths, no pretension. Just good food and better company. How do you feel? Karen asked over tiramisu. Free. I realized it was true. For 12 years, I made myself smaller. Quieter. I convinced myself it was humility, but it was just fear. Fear of what? Of being too much. Too successful. Too powerful. I thought if David knew the truth, he'd feel threatened. Insecure. I sipped my wine. Turns out he felt those things anyway. His loss. Everyone keeps saying that. But Karen? It's not a loss anymore. It's a redirection. I looked around the restaurant. Couples, families, friends. Normal people living normal lives. I spent so long hiding who I was. Now I get to be exactly myself. And who's that? I thought about the question. About the girl who'd started as a bank teller at 19. Who'd worked night classes for her degree. Who'd climbed every rung through merit and grit. Who'd learned that quiet didn't mean weak, it meant strategic. Someone who doesn't need to prove anything, I said. To anyone. Ever again. A year later, the first Brennan Initiative scholars graduated. 20 women, all from backgrounds like mine. Working class. First generation. Smart as hell and twice as determined. I gave the commencement speech at their ceremony. You're entering a world that will try to diminish you, I told them. That will mistake quiet for weak. That will assume your support staff when you're actually running the show. Don't correct them immediately. Let them underestimate you. Use that time to learn, to prepare, to become so undeniably excellent that when you finally speak, the whole world has to listen. The applause was deafening. Afterwards, a young woman approached me. Ms. Brennan, I just wanted to say thank you. My ex told me I'd never amount to anything, that I was too simple for success. Your story, it helped me leave. I took her hand. You're going to do extraordinary things. Not because of him, not despite him, because you're already extraordinary. You just needed to believe it. She wiped her eyes. I believe it now. That night, I stood in my apartment, looking at the framed Forbes cover on my wall. The headline read, Monica Brennan, the banker who rewrote the rules. My phone buzzed. George, even though it was 10 p.m., Ms. Brennan, the Journal wants an interview about the initiative. They're calling it the most impactful mentorship program in finance. I smiled. Type back. Tell them yes. But they have to run it under my full title. Monica Brennan, CEO, Pinnacle Trust. Not wife. Not ex-wife. Not simple. Just me. Outside my window, the city glowed with possibility. I'd spent 12 years being underestimated by someone who should have known better. Now I spent my days making sure other women never felt invisible. The revenge wasn't in David's foreclosure, though watching him learn humility had been satisfying. It was in this. I'd taken everything he thought made him superior and proved it was never his to begin with. The house, the money, the power, none of it was his. And I didn't need his recognition to know my worth. I'd always known. I'd just been waiting for the right moment to show the world. That moment was now, and it would never end.